What up, TCK Potters? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Sky Guasco. This is another episode of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, aka TCK Pod. Of course, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter via the Fantasy Focused Network. We're also on the Fantasy Football Network on YouTube. Make sure to give us a like, subscribe, and a follow anywhere possible. We much appreciate it. Also, for those of you heavy on our Twitch streaming and our YouTubes, which we appreciate, you catching us live on video, you can double up and download the podcast anywhere the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast is heard through the Believe Podcast Network. And you can get your podcast the day after these live shows. I drop the podcast the very next morning. If you happen to miss a live show, make sure to catch it up on the podcast side. This is episode 494. Away from 500. We got my man Dweeze Nuts in the place. You can find us on Twitter, Sky Guasco, SkyGuasco, and my man Dweeze Nuts, DWEEZENUTZ, all Z's, no S's. You'll know how to do this. Dweeze, had a bye week last week. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm back and better than ever. Had to rest up, had a couple of injuries, a couple sore bits. It just needed a little bit extra time, but I think we're back to 100%, ready to get out here and rock and roll. Although the last hour and a half or so of my life have not been great. So kind of feeling a little down, if I'm honest. I'm hoping you and the show can lift my spirits back up after a rough first half of Monday Night Football.
Well, the Niners got their ass kicked too, so no help from me. We were talking about some of your, like, if you weren't a Bears fan, which team would you want to bandwagon? And we had a couple guys, whatever. So take the team out of it. What fan base in the NFL would you want to legitimately be a part of? I've got one in mind, but what fan base do you want to plant a flag and be like, I'm part of this crew and I feel good about it?
Okay. Now, right now this is probably not the answer I would have most of the time if you were to ask me this question, but I'm feeling aggressive. Okay. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling mean. And when I think about NFL fan bases and I'm looking for the meanest, the nastiest group of guys I could find, I think it's got to be them Eagles in Philadelphia, man. Yeah. I would like to get out there and just chuck half-empty beers at opponent fans walking through the aisles. That feels good to me right now. It feels like where I want to be right now. It feels fun. No, the honest answer here is probably, right now I'm in love with the Chargers offense. I've always loved the Powder Blues. My brother has season tickets for his family for the Chargers, and he's taking me to the game later this year. So, I like what they're doing. Young and upcoming team that back into the city that has one of the best stadiums around, right? That's probably where I'd pick in my less aggressive moods. I'm in a very aggressive mood right now, so give me those Eagles.
Yeah, it makes sense. Tough, rough half here on Monday Night Football for the Bears. Jordan Della Valle, our other co-host, a big-time Eagles fan, so he can let you know about throwing snowballs with batteries inside them at Santa Claus. So if you're into that, Jordan has the inside scoop. I'm going to go – I live on the West Coast. I love the Chargers. I'm a big Herbie guy. Yep. Shouts out to my Ducks. If I didn't hate the Seahawks, I kind of like the 12s mentality, but I live in Seahawk country. I'm a Niner. That's not going to work. Yeah. I'm going to go all the way across the country, maybe as far away as I can go. And I've been to Buffalo one time with my band. We played a show, went to Niagara Falls. It was beautiful. You look across the river, you see Toronto and the Ferris wheel. It's unbelievable. Bills Mafia, man. Our good friend Bucky right here on the channel, Sunday Live. You can catch us. Our man Bucks is a big-time Bills fan. I'm getting hyped on Bills Mafia. And Bills Mafia wasn't really a thing because the Bills were horrible with Peyton Manning. Tom Brady in the division for 20 years. Now they have a chance. Off week this week, but now they have a chance here with Josh Allen. I really like the squad. I love Sean McDermott. Love the defense. Bills Mafia, I think, is a squad I could get behind there. All right, y'all. Once again, Sky Guasco, Dweeze Nuts with you here on a Monday night, middle of the Monday Night Football game here between the Bears and the Steelers. We need Justin Fields to go off for 4 touchdowns in the second half. That will happen. Just a matter of time. We have the week 10 waiver wire ads, and of course, some trade targets and maybe some trade fades. I read off Dweeze notes from last week. He was kind enough to share those with us, so I regurgitated them out to you.
Nice.
But we got the man in the flesh this week to give us his top priorities. Now, before we do that, I do want to give a shout out here, quick, right off the bat, to our friends at betonline.ag. For those of you that like to gamble, that like to bet, those of you that are over 21, those of you in states that allow you to do so, a great opportunity aside from FanDuel and DraftKings, not sponsors yet, and other areas where you bet on like DFS fantasy football, you like to bet on lines otherwise in sports. Bet online is a great opportunity to do that. We'll take a quick commercial break. Dweeze and I will be right back with the Week 10 waiver ads. This episode of the Candlestick Kids is brought to you by Bet Online. All eyes are back on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. And as always, Bet Online is your number one spot for all pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, Bet Online continues to be your number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use the mobile app and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, BELIEVE to receive your bonus. For football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's get into it, Dweeze. Top waiver ads and some trade targets. Of course, I have my gigantic list we'll get to at the end here, just as some like rapid fire names. But let's get into your top waiver ads for week 10. The floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys here that kind of jump off the page at you as people that you need to look at, and I'm sure you'll mention them in a minute. Guys like Brandon Ayuk, my boy Michael Gallup coming back to Dallas. But I don't want to point at these guys. I'm going to give you one wide receiver, one running back today. They're both about 65% owned, so there's a chance they're available. Third of leagues they're available. There's some people that I think you have to go look at to see if you can get one for the season and one for next week. So let's jump in. I'm going to start with my receiver, and it's got to be Hunter Renfro, Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the big news, obviously, this past week, Ruggs off the team. Zay Jones, I think, started 98% of the snaps on the other side of the field. There were some people I saw on Twitter saying, "Oh, Renfro's finally going to get a shot." Well, he's a slot receiver. Like, he's not ever going to line up on the outside and run those routes. So I didn't expect that. He did see about a 65% snap share this week, which is pretty much in line with what he's been doing. But if you think Deshaun Jackson is going to come in here and demand a whole bunch of the targets that we're going to Renfro to begin with, like, you're wrong. Renfro is going to maybe add a target or two after Ruggs leaves. It's not like Ruggs was getting a bunch of targets on this team. It's been Renfro all year. It's still going to continue to be Renfro. He top 20 in receptions in this league. Hunter Renfro. He's got the 5th most red zone catches in the entire league so far this season. He's led his team in targets in half of their games, and in the other half, he was second to Darren Waller. None of that's going to change. The passing offense for Las Vegas has the easiest schedule moving forward for the rest of the season. I think Hunter Renfro this year, the thing that really separates Hunter Renfro's last season, where he was just a target machine, but he never had huge games, from this season, is that red zone work. They're looking for him, like I said, 5th most targets in the red zone of anybody in the league this year. They like him down there. He just knows how to use that tiny body. He's not fast. He's not big, but he's got really good hands, and he knows how to use his body and put himself in a position to make a play. And Derek Carr is looking for him. I believe this passing offense is going to be good enough rest of season that Hunter Renfro can be, at the very worst, a flex guy for you week in and week out. And in really good matchups, he'll pop up to that wide receiver too. I threw him into my flex spot in a bunch of daily lineups this week, and I won some money with him. So I think Hunter Renfro, again, 65% owned. Go see if you can swoop this guy up. He's going to be one of those unsexy pieces that you can put in, and that's going to win you those close games.
I like it, man. Our good friend Lucas Kaser, former co-host of the TCK pod. He's taking some time off, but he kind of told me something a couple years ago that was kind of like a duh moment, but it really clicked when he said it. And it was like Robert Woods, Julian Edelman, Hunter Renfro right now, Jamison Crowder. You
Yep.
need unsexy guys that are just going to give you 12 points as a flex because you need the 12 points. Everyone wants the 20, 30 point guy. But when somebody, Tyreek Hill doesn't go off, you need someone to balance him. And a lot of times you end up just winning ugly, if you will, in fantasy football with guys like Hunter Renfro, who are just consistent. 9 targets a game, 6 receptions, 50, 60 yards, and maybe he gets a touchdown. Julian Edelman never scored a lot, but he had so much volume in PPR leagues. Jamison Crowder has a lot of volume. It adds up over time. And I've been really waiting out my man, Bryan Edwards. Loved him coming out of the draft. Loved him last year as a rookie. He got hurt. The Raiders were the Raiders. Didn't work out. This year, I thought he was going to get a bump anyway, and then Ruggs is gone. Thought he was going 4 targets, no receptions last week. Dweeze.
Tough.
I've run out of. It's like Allen Robinson. I've run out of things to say to like make excuses for the situation. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for my man Bryan Edwards. But Hunter Renfro, great call there. Anybody else on the waiver tip here for you jumping off the page?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a running back here. And now this is a guy, again, 64% owned, so he may not be available in your league, but he's absolutely worth a look. And this is a 4-week 10 guy. Like, you're picking this guy up for next week, and then you're going to drop him. So don't go spending all of your fab to get him. The guy's Devin Singletary, the much maligned running back from the Buffalo Bills. Sort of took a backseat to Zach Moss late last season and has been in that backseat most of the year this season as well. The reasons that say that you need to go pick up Devin Singletary are twofold. Okay, one, Zach Moss left the game this week with a concussion, and we see time and time again concussions. He's either going to be back on the practice field in a couple days, or it's going to be 10 days before he's cleared the protocol. And there's absolutely no way for anybody to know how long it's going to take each guy in each situation. So on the off chance that Zach Moss misses time, you want Devin Singletary. Is the running game in Buffalo something you want to have a piece of every week, week in and week out? No, it's certainly not something you need to do. But this coming week, the Buffalo Bills face off against the New York Jets. Okay? The New York Jets, here's some interesting information about the New York Jets. First of all, they're worst against running backs for fantasy. They're giving up 10 more fantasy points per game to running backs than the 3rd worst team in the league. That would be the Houston Texans. Detroit, they're giving up 5 more than Detroit, who is 2nd. They are so much worse at this than anybody else in the league that over their last 7 games, 12 different running backs have scored touchdowns against them. So let's say Zach Moss doesn't miss the game. He's back in there, and Devin Singletary is your running back 2. Great. The running back 2 is scoring every week against the Jets as well. You absolutely want this to happen. Interesting fact for you, the only team that couldn't get a running back into the end zone against the New York Jets, Carolina Panthers in week 1 with CMC. Had 90-some yards rushing, had another 20 or so yards, 30 yards receiving, but he didn't score. Every other team that's played against him, at least 1 running back, more often than not 2 running backs, have been able to punch it in. So pick this guy up. You can play him as a flex spot if Moss is back. If he's not, I feel comfortable playing him as an RB2. It doesn't take a genius to say you run the ball against the Jets. And when this coaching staff, your boy McDermott gets in there and looks at the tape from this past week, it's got to be a kick in the pants to say that if you can't run the ball, then your insane offense and your great quarterback with his deep threat receivers are worthless. It doesn't take much to recognize that, right? So maybe this week against the Jets in the game that you should run after the game we just saw, they actually will maybe get that running game going. And Devin Singletary, I think, can win people weeks next week. He's going to be in all my daily lineups already because he's not going to cost anything to do it. And it's just the game that you want to do it in. So go look on your waiver wire, see if he's there, throw a little fab at him. Again, not a lot. The next 2 weeks after this one are brutal matchups for a Bills run game that they don't use anyway. So it's a 1 week throwaway. But at this point in the season, you're probably somewhere in the middle of your rankings in your league. you need wins, right? This is a way to steal a win, to buy a win on the cheap in your fab count. So go after them.
How concerned are you that the Bills, A, don't run the football other than Josh Allen? B, obviously they they overlooked Jacksonville. They got upended. It happens. I mean, the Chiefs are 500. I mean, it happens. It's a throwout game for Buffalo. Like if they play Jacksonville 10 times, they beat them 9.5. I'm not worried about that. But how much of a concern is it in general for that offense that is just not a run-focused offense? I get that it's against the Jets, but it's not the way that the Bills run the football. And even if they do, it's usually Josh Allen. I like the waiver pickup because it's a waiver pickup, but is this somebody like, we're middle of the season, man. People either have 50% of their fab left or they're out of it, right? I mean, like, that's just where we're at now. So, like, how much of your fab percentage-wise, or just out of 100, whatever, would you actually spend on Singletary if you're not necessarily interested in him long-term? Because with the running back, usually pick somebody up hoping for multiple weeks. But I agree with you. Singletary is not somebody I want weekly, but it could be nice this week.
Yeah, it comes down to what you need and where you're at in your rankings, right? Like if you're looking pretty good for playoffs right now, throw $1 or $2 at them. If you're in a position, and I'm in this position in a lot of leagues, I need to win every week. Like I don't want to get behind the 8 ball and be desperately scratching in the last couple of weeks leading up to the playoffs. I need to win every week. So, I'm throwing 10% of what I got. I'll throw $5-6 if I'm halfway through my fab already. If you're absolutely desperate and dying and need this win, like spend your money. Like we have fab to be spent, right? Saving it because maybe 2 weeks from now you might be able to buy a backup running back because somebody else got injured doesn't make any sense to me. Spend it now. Take your wins when you can get them. And then you'll figure something out later on down the road. I think this is a guy that you got to spend up on if you need that win. If you don't need it, or if you're the bottom of the league, don't even bother. If you're at the top of the league, if you've already almost locked up your playoff spot, you don't have to worry. Like throw a couple of bucks out there just to see if you can snag them. But I'm not afraid to spend up to buy a single week win at this point, if that's what you need. And to your other point, I think the best thing that could have happened for this Jets game is what happened in this Jaguars game, right? Because they got embarrassed on the field. They absolutely got embarrassed at the Bills. I think they're going to come out and score 50-plus points against the Jets next week. They're going to come out screaming. They're going to come out trying to prove something to themselves, their fan base, and the rest of the league that Jacksonville game was a throwaway. And that screams to me, okay, let's get up big and let's let Josh Allen sit in the fourth quarter, right? Like we don't need to throw the ball anymore. We're already up 42-6, whatever the score is. I just think is it possible that they don't run the ball but 5 times all game? Absolutely, right? Is it likely? I think it is the furthest possible thing from likely. Literally, if they were ever going to run the ball with any kind of volume, ever under McDermott with Josh Allen at quarterback, this is the week of all the weeks, right? So all we can do in fantasy football is play the probabilities. What is the most likely thing to happen? And I cannot, in the logical centers of my brain, find a reason for them to not run the ball 30 times in this game with their backs.
Over under 3.5 points for Mitch Trubisky this week against the Jets.
Yeah, I'll go over.
Nice.
I bet he gets in there and I get some snaps. I bet he throws the ball. Say he throws the ball 9.5 is the over under on pass attempts. I say.
Now you don't want just the kneel downs because then he's going to get negative points, right?
We won't take the kneel downs.
Yeah. Okay.
He may throw an interception. Look at this one. Oh, Goodwin, hold on to the damn ball. Oh, jeez. Sorry.
I love him so much. Marquis Goodwin's one of my favorite players ever. Go look up a documentary about him and his wife. One of the most phenomenal stories in NFL. All right. Nice. Dweeze, any more waiver ads? Of course, we have a chunked list that I'm going to run through, but any spotlight waiver ads before we get into your trades?
No, I might let you kind of handle the rest of these. I mean, there's guys like we have some injuries to pay attention to. What happened with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson? Do we really want to go snag a Brandon Bolden here this week? If if those two guys are going to be missing time. Maybe Corey Davis coming back from his injury. So a couple of guys to mention, but I don't think there's anybody else that I really need to. Rashad Bateman is still only 36% owned, and I know that makes you upset. Also makes me upset. People should go buy this man, regardless of what Hollywood Brown did again this week. But now we'll get to your list.
Spoiler alert, Rashad Bateman, my number one overall waiver claim for, Dweeze, let's see, week 10. This might be the 8th week in a row that he's in my top 10 pickups, but he's 70% available. 70%. Unbelievable. Stupid. We're going to be right back. I got to get some water and cool myself down before I get into my waivers and your trade talk. So let's get a quick shout out to our new sponsor, our friends at Carafactor. Dweeze and I will be right back.
Hey TCK Potters and Fantasy Focus community. Are you looking for options for hair loss? There are many options out there for treating it. However, most products treat the cause, such as DHT, and don't do much to support the growth of new and stronger hair. It's like removing harmful weeds from your lawn, but not doing much to fertilize the grass. That's why the Fantasy Focus and TCK team has partnered with Carafactor. Carafactor saw this problem and focused their research on finding just the right combination of biosynthetic growth factors and an innovative delivery system to promote fuller, stronger looking hair. So whether you're a listener who suffers from various forms of alopecia or even stress-related hair loss, the Carafactor treatment is the perfect scalp-friendly solution that can help and influence stronger and healthy hair throughout all stages of the hair life cycle. And now, exclusively for TCK listeners, use the promo code TCK at checkout to get 15% off all products at shop.mycarafactor.com. That's shop.mykerafactor.com. Carafactor, skincare for hair.
All right, Dweeze, before we get into my massive list, I do want to get into your trade targets here. So give me a player or two that you're either looking to trade for, trade away. Last week you had 2 players you're looking to trade for, someone to trade away. Give me anybody you're looking for on the trade block, and then we'll wrap up with my giant list.
So there's a bit of a pattern here, and I feel like we keep every time we get to this segment, we're saying the same things, and it's this. If you got a guy who you like, who has a bad week followed by a bye week, those are guys that you need to go target, because that's 2 weeks in a row where an owner's just going to be sitting on this performance, and that player can't prove him wrong. So this week, the guy who had a bad week leading into a bye is Deandre Swift. I think Deandre Swift is a guy that you should absolutely go after. Also on a really bad team, that always helps as well. You can highlight how bad that team is to that Deandre Swift owner before you make the offer. I think he scored 5 or 6 fantasy points in his week prior to the bye. But he's a guy that needs to be on your roster moving forward. 15th most catches in the league, regardless of position. 15th most catches in the league, and he's had a bye. That's regardless of position. He's got an 18.5% target share on his team, which is second to the tight end TJ Hawkinson, who's got an 18.6% target share. It's sort of ridiculous. And unless you count Cordero Patterson as a running back, he has the most receiving yards of any running back by almost 100 yards. He's got 83 yards more than J.D. McKissick, who is second in that category. He doesn't have to run the ball to be valuable on your fantasy team. A really solid RB2. I think you can pay RB2 prices and trade for him, maybe even low RB2 prices right now for him because of that bad week leading up. And then I've got, 4 more running back names just to throw at you real quick as potential targets. First of all, how about Zeke after a couple of down weeks and that really embarrassing performance for the entirety of that Cowboys team? I know he scored. No, he didn't score. What, he had 10 points. He had 10 points.
Yeah, he had a bit of an injury there as well. He stayed in the game. He actually left the game and came back when it was garbage time, which made no sense to me, but nonetheless.
He had the ice on the knee. I think he's somebody that you can target. You might as well at least throw some offers out to all those Cowboys receivers too, right? Like, everybody had a down game. Go ahead. I know you're a big CeeDee Lamb guy. Go get CeeDee Lamb. Go at least throw an offer out there for CeeDee Lamb. 3 other running backs that I think you could target right now. And I only say this because the rest of the season schedule for these guys is really, really nice. Darrell Henderson, second best rest of season schedule for running backs on that team. Go get them. And Javonta Williams or Melvin Gordon, doesn't even matter which. This team has shown they want to run the ball. They can run the ball successfully with either guy, and they do run the ball successfully with both guys. They have the easiest schedule for any running back moving forward. So pick one, whichever one you like, and make some offers. Melvin Gordon's probably a little bit cheaper just because Javonta Williams is the new hotness. But those are a handful of running backs that I think you should go get. If you can't get Swift, those are some backups that have a nice rest of way for you.
I love that. I love that group. I'm a big Javonta guy. First 100-yard day. Melvin Gordon continues to score, but Javonta's getting his yardage.
Oh, I don't know if you were watching this game, okay, but Javonta Williams, after I think he was at 98 yards, and they gave it to him twice on the goal line, and he scored. He jumped over the top of a defender's leg, and the ball broke the plane. But instead of challenging it on third down, they just got back up again, and Teddy ran the ball into the end zone. Like, challenge the play. Give me the touchdown, because I had to roll him out there as a starting running back in my home league because of buys and things. But it was upsetting. I want to see this kid start to get in the end zone because he runs so hard.
He will. This is and this is kind of far-fetched, I guess, because Carlos Hyde at the time was not Melvin Gordon now, but this is like Carlos Hyde with the Cleveland Browns when Nick Chubb was the rookie. Yeah. And Nick Chubb was behind him, and people were just like, damn, dude, this kid Chubb, I think he's legit. What if he gets an opportunity next year? And then, boom, he's Nick Chubb. Javonta will blow out Melvin Gordon next year. Melvin Gordon's still around, so I'm willing to wait, but I want it to happen now. We keep seeing it. His efficiency is through the roof. But Melvin Gordon continues to score. Zeke Elliott's going to be expensive no matter what, but I like the call there. And then you have Deandre Swift, also going to be very expensive, but I also like the call there. It's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was kind of like that Austin Eckler window a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully you acted on that. All right, Dweeze, those are your trade targets. Anybody else to target, or do you have somebody maybe we're looking to trade away?
Yeah, I got a prime guy to trade away, and it's James Conner, like the MVP of Week 9 fantasy football. Trade away James Conner, really good. Everything is the stars have aligned if you own James Conner to trade him away, because first of all, he has an insane week, right? In that same week, the other guy, I don't know that I want to say ahead of him, but the other guy in that backfield, Chase Edmonds, gets hurt. I think I saw a news pop up earlier that said he's likely to miss a few weeks, something about an ankle. I think it was an ankle.
Yeah.
So you've got whoever you're trading with just saw James Conner score 3 or 4 touchdowns or 18 touchdowns, whatever it was.
I think it was 14 touchdowns.
Just saw that he's now going to be the guy in that backfield without having to give any snaps away to Chase Edmonds. It's time to capitalize on those two things. And it's not just this week, right? Like, you can point this out. James Conner he's scored more touchdowns than anybody else in the league at the running back position this year. Okay. He's scoring nearly every week this season. And you might be saying to me, well, Dweeze, why the fuck am I trading away a guy who's scoring every week? and the bottom line is this. Okay. Kyler's going to be back, so they're not going to rely on James Conner in the run game like they did this past week with Colt McCoy. They've got some really there's one good matchup in the next 4 weeks. The one good matchup, 2 bad matchups, and a bye in the next 4 weeks. And that's the time period. That's the time frame that Chase Edmonds is going to be out. Then he will be back, and he'll continue to take some snaps back. So you can take James Conner right now, and I think you can get RB2 value for him in return, maybe high RB2 value for him in return if you can really sell his performance this week and his potential for the next few with his running mate out of the game. And I think that's better than what you're going to be able to get for him, 4 weeks down the line once we're back to the way the Cardinals had been. Yes, he'll still have 20 yards and a touchdown in most weeks beyond that, but that's not – you can get much more value for him in trade now than that 20, 30 yards and a touchdown that he'll give you if you keep him.
I think it's a great call. Again, the epitome of sell high. 3 touchdowns. Yeah. But Kyler will be coming back. If Chase Edmonds is out, they're going to have someone else come up. I think Eno Benjamin is still around. I liked him a lot coming out of Arizona State. Again, I'm a Pac-12 guy, so I know some of these random 7th-round picks. But Eno Benjamin I thought was solid, and he could take up a little bit of that Edmonds role, whatever. And look, Nuke Hopkins was out in this game too. They had Colt McCoy. I had James Conner
AJ Green was gone out of the game.
I had I had 3 DFS lineups, and I had James Conner in every one of them. And him alone, I forget what my lineup is. It's almost worth bringing it up. I had like James Conner as my fill-in flex guy, right? But I had like Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, like studs, right? And they all got like 9 points apiece. James Conner had like 46 or something, and like single-handedly like got my money back and plus some or whatever. It was pretty funny. All right, man. Any other trade targets or trade fades?
That is it for me. God, this game is driving me crazy. Let me tell you something about this game. I know it's off topic, but not only are my Bears being embarrassed, like I'm in this classic fantasy football player conundrum where in my home league, I was down 11.5 points and I owned a Pittsburgh Steeler, Deontay Johnson. Okay. So I have to root for Deontay Johnson to get his catches and get his yards, but still not score, not get into the end zone. I needed 12 points from Deontay Johnson. In my home league scoring system, he's only failed to reach 12 once, and he scored 11.5 in that game. Right now, Deontay Johnson has 2.5 fantasy points, and the Steelers are beating up on my Bears. This is the most frustrating kind of football watching for me in every aspect. It's driving me nuts. But no more trade targets.
Yeah, it's rough. And again, the podcasters are like, dude, we already saw this, but we're talking live here. It's very frustrating watching Justin Fields move the team all the way down to the red zone. They get in the red zone, throw a touchdown to Jimmy Graham, penalty. Overthrow Jimmy Graham again, penalty. Settling for field goals. Obviously, it's not going to work against the Steelers, but Justin Fields should have at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. And I think they just need to let this kid loose and just Jalen Hurts his way to 20 fantasy points, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, Dweeze, we're done with trade talk. Then I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at the Jersey Jungle, and we'll be right back. Are you a merchandise maniac or jersey junkie like myself? You need to check out the Jersey Jungle. They handle their business on Instagram at the Jersey Jungle. You can use their promo code TCK for 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3 or more jerseys. Now, if you've been watching the show for this season or a couple seasons, you know that my backdrop, if you're streaming live with us on video, you know my backdrop is always a couple of jerseys. Those jerseys are coming from the Jersey Jungle. They're high quality stitch and twill jerseys. I collect NFL jerseys, but I'm also a baseball guy. So I have baseball jerseys as well. I collect Hall of Fame jerseys. I have a Jackie Robinson. I have a Ken Griffey Jr. I have a Willie Mays jersey. I got a Shohei Ohtani jersey as well because the guy has been absolutely on fire. Go get yourself a jersey. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, college. They got rookies as well. Home, away. They have customs. They have camouflage. Whatever you're feeling, retro jerseys from any sport. Go hit up the Jersey Jungle on Instagram. DM the Jersey Jungle. Use the promo code TCK for 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3 jerseys. These are already half price that you're going to find on the websites. They're high quality stitch and twill, game authentic jerseys. Go check them out. The Jersey Jungle on Instagram. All right. Week 10, waiver wires. I got my giant list. We're going to blaze these out here. I'll give you 5 names in a row. Dweeze, let me know if anybody tickles your fancy here. Again, Rashad Bateman, number 1, easy. Number 1 wide receiver, number 1 player. If he's still available on your leagues, go get him. He has not had the breakout. If you watch the game, though, with the Ravens, he was overthrown 2 or 3 times. He had like a 40-yard catch called back. I'm telling you, this kid, I've been saying it for literally 2 months now. This kid is going to be worth it. Get him on your team. He's available in 70% of leagues. That's absolutely unnecessary. Brandon Ayuk, on his way, did have a fumble, but he's coming back. He's out of the doghouse. Shanahan likes him all of a sudden. Logan Thomas coming back off of IR. Ricky Seals-Jones has been nice, but Logan Thomas should be his spot. Elijah Moore getting a little bit more work there with the Jets. And then Van Jefferson with no Deshaun Jackson for the St. Louis. Wow, how about that? Los Angeles Rams. Bateman, Ayuk, Logan Thomas, Moore, Jefferson. Anybody step up?
I think probably Ayuk is my number 1 on that list. We have known all along that this guy's insanely athletically talented. He makes a really good pairing with Deebo Samuel on the field. Those two can do a lot of things with the ball in their hand. And if he's finally really, out of that doghouse, if he's finally back on the play card for Kyle Shanahan, I think you absolutely want this guy on your team. He can be really explosive, and in a single play on any given snap, he can win your league. He win your week for you. So somebody like that is somebody that I'd like to own on my teams. Hopefully, we're done with his goose eggs in 2-point weeks.
I like that. All right, let's go through 6 through 10 here. Tyler Conklin, tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, your boy Michael Gallup. You and I have talked about him 3-4 weeks in a row, and it's all been preparation for him coming back. If he's actually coming back, let's get him in there. Cedric Wilson, who is like the 4th, 5th string receiver, has stepped up in Michael Gallup's place. He's actually been pretty decent. We know how talented Michael Gallup is. I think he's a wide receiver 2 minimum on probably every other NFL team, maybe a wide receiver 1 on some of these squads without a bona fide stud. So keep an eye on Michael Gallup. Of course, Ty Johnson, running back for the Jets, if you need some depth there with Michael Carter. Dan Arnold getting absolutely targeted. Jags don't score a lot, but you're getting volume. 5 for 50 is a great line for a tight end streamer. Dan Arnold's getting that and then some every week. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, I threw him out on the Sunday live show. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I was like, someone not named Jarvis Landry's got to be Odell Beckham, quote unquote. And in the last couple of years, when Odell's been out or Landry's been out or Higgins has been out for the Browns, it's been DPJ. Nice deep threat. Baker could turn it loose. Could be a low-key shootout with the Bengals. Sure enough, it was 60-yard touchdown here. Conklin, Gallup, Ty Johnson, Arnold, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I love me some DPJ in daily lineups. If you're doing mid-season best ball drafts, DPJ is awesome. I just don't know that in that passing game he's ever going to have enough target volume for me. He's a big play guy. He's always been a big play guy. And when he has those plays, it's really amazing. But when he doesn't have the plays, that's tough. So I'm going to go instead with my guy, Michael Gallup. He's back now. Fair warning, if you pick up Michael Gallup this week, it may be a couple of weeks before he's off of his snap count and he's fully utilized on the field again. But this is a team that has one of the easiest strength of schedules for wide receivers for fantasy purposes moving forward rest of season. It's an offense that, again, over the next few weeks is going to come out and try to prove something. And one of the things about Gallup that I like, even though they've got so many other weapons on this team, is that he has a couple of very defined roles on the team on that play card. One of the things that they like to use him for is when they get around the 30-yard line or so, when they cross over midfield to the 30, 40-yard line, they're going to take a deep shot to Michael Gallup every time. Every time they snap the ball on 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6 around that 35-yard line, it's going to be one deep shot to Michael Gallup, and he's going to catch some of them, right? Like, he's not going to catch all of them, but he's going to catch some of them. They like him in the end zone. They like him in the red zone. I think he's got enough of a role on this team that even though all the other players, Dalton Schultz is coming on really well, CeeDee Lamb is who we thought CeeDee Lamb was going to be, I think Michael Gallup has the role that he's going to step back into when he's healthy. So give me that guy. Always like them too. Let's go.
I agree. You and I are both Michael Gallup guys who've been repping him for the last month. I'm going to just throw an extra shout out to my boy DPJ. Coming out of Michigan, he dropped in the draft because he had a shitty quarterback. Like this kid is okay. Same thing we said about DPJ is happening with Nico Collins. Michigan wide receiver, no quarterback, Big Ten, run, pass on 3rd down, hope to get lucky with a touchdown every once in a while. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, great individual wide receivers. They are not getting the street cred because they're Michigan wide receivers. I think this kid's legit. And with Odell Beckham gone, he's going to get a lot of work here, and he is the deep threat there for Cleveland. All right, let's go into 11 through 15 here. Jordan Howard, Denver Broncos DST, Ramondre Stevenson, you mentioned earlier. Eno Benjamin, I'm going to keep throwing him out there. And Teddy Bridgewater if you need a quarterback. Howard, Broncos, Stevenson, Eno Benjamin, Teddy B.
God, Ramondre Stevenson looked so good with the ball this past week, man. I mean, he looked electric. He looked better. I watched a lot of college tape on a lot of running backs, and I don't think his tape really jumped off the
I agree.
Off the screen to me. It wasn't all that.
He's gotten better when he hit the pros, and that doesn't usually happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if I had seen any games or any highlights that looked like that, like he did this past week, I would have been more excited about the kid. I think the team wants to get him more involved. I think he's going to start getting more involved, and when he performs like that, it's just going to help his stock quite a lot. Like again, concussed right in this game, so will he miss time or not? I don't know, but I'm still going after a guy like Ramondre Stevenson and stashing him on my bench because Damian Harris is playing well, but they don't want one guy to be the guy. And if it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson that gets the pass catching work and comes in relief, I think that's a guy I want a piece of on an offense that's better than we all thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Yep. I totally.
Matt Jones, man, he's good. He's getting it done.
I totally agree. And I just want to throw another shout out to Eno Benjamin as well. I know not a lot of people probably know who he is because of Chase Edmonds, James Conner, but Eno Benjamin now going to get more work with if Chase Edmonds misses significant time. This kid was great at Arizona State. He ends up on the Cardinals there, stays in the Valley. I think he's going to be very good as well. Jordan Howard, no thank you. Denver defense is a DST. Yes, they're available in 50% of your leagues. And Teddy B, look, if you need a super flex flyer, fine, but I can't ever imagine starting Teddy Bridgewater in a single quarterback league. Also, we have the comments starting to pick up here. Anbu, I see you in there, and Beach as well. Good evening. We'll get to your comments here in just a little bit. So stick with us.
Can I ask you this question? How legit is this Pat Freiermuth kid? He is all over the place on the field tonight. Just scored that touchdown. Great play on that touchdown.
Second touchdown of the night. He's
tearing the Bears apart. Is he really that good?
Absolutely. I think he was that good. He was that good. And then the Steelers thought they got like the 7-week Colts Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They got the Lions Eric Ebron. Dude's hurt. He's inefficient. Can't catch a ball anyway. Absolutely. Pat Freiermuth's in one of my lineups tonight. He's in my DFS lineup.
Legit,
looking good so far.
I
need a lot more help here, so I'm looking for Justin Fields to have about a 60-yard rushing touchdown.
I kind of wish those Freiermuth touchdowns were Deontay Johnson touchdowns.
Yeah.
I feel real good about it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right, let's get into just a handful of more names here, maybe a couple more segments. All right, 16, Laviska Shenault. Super hype preseason. Meh since. Hit or miss. Tim Patrick. Look, this kid, another one of these guys who's like Sutton, Judy, Tim Patrick. Dude, Tim Patrick low-key might be the best wide receiver on the Broncos. He's like another Michael Gallup. Like, put him somewhere else, and I think this kid absolutely shines. Mac Jones, we just mentioned him. A little kicker shout-out here, Brandon McManus, and then the Tennessee Football Titans, man. They have been mowing everybody down. They've been playing very, very well here. Once again, Laviska, Tim Patrick, Mac Jones, Brandon McManus is a kicker for streamers there, but then the Tennessee Titans DST as well.
Man, I gotta give some love to Tim Patrick. He's been doing it all year. Judy came back and people dropped this kid all over the place. They thought, he's done. He was just a placeholder. He's not a placeholder on this team, man. He looked on the field like the best receiver on this team yesterday, and you might not get the same kind of consistency we had with him to begin the season. Now that Judy's back, they might spread the ball around. Maybe Judy ends up taking a lot more of that work back from him. But Tim Patrick looks really good. Now, I will caveat this and say, like, in my home league, it's a keeper league, and the later you get a guy, the cheaper he is to keep. If that's the case, I might pivot and say, Mac Jones here. Mac Jones is looking like a real deal NFL quarterback. And if you can get him now, and if you're in any sort of keeper setup, that you might be able to hold on to this guy for next to nothing moving into next season. If you're in a dynasty, there's almost no way he's available still. But think about the future, because I think Mac Jones has a pretty bright future.
He's easily the best rookie quarterback this year so far.
Oh, yes.
We're starting to see, rough night against the Steelers, but it's the Steelers at home. Justin Fields is starting to come out of his shell. Trey Lance just hasn't had enough opportunity. Zach Wilson played a couple games, but he's hurt. Trevor Lawrence has just straight up got his ass kicked all year. Yep. Nothing he can do. But Mac Jones has been playing very, very well so far. So looking forward to seeing him blossom. All right, man, let's do 5 more here. Trey Lance, again, just kind of precautionary. First of all, Jimmy is terrible. I'm a Niner fan. I just was talking to my buddy before the game here. We were bullshitting Niners, and he's like, thoughts on Jimmy rest of the season, right? So I basically said Jimmy Garoppolo is the prototypical like Alex Smith, right? And shouts out to Alex Smith and respect to him and his story, and love Alex Smith. Would have rather had Rodgers in 05, but I digress. The whole thing is like Jimmy Garoppolo is good enough not to lose games on his own. He's never going to throw 3 picks. He's not going to throw picks in the end zone. He's not going to get sack fumbled with the game on the line, but he's also not going to put the team on his back and go win a game. I don't think I've ever seen him in his years of the Niners be like, we need to win this game, put his team on the back and just go do it. And which is very frustrating. And unfortunately, Trey Lance, I think, is just kind of going to be behind him unless he gets a real injury here, which is unfortunate because I think with Justin Fields, you got to kind of throw the kid in the fire, eventually see what happens. And look, man, the Rams and the Cardinals are unbelievable right now. And the Seahawks are going to get Russ back. I mean, the Niners don't have a chance, in my opinion, playing don't lose football. You got to shoot for the stars. Whew. Thank you for listening to my Sky talk. All right, Trey Lance. Then you got a couple of different kickers, but I'll skip them here. Taylor Heineke coming back off the bye if you need a streamer. Deontay Foreman, another Tennessee running back. McNichols played okay. AP got into the end zone, so that worked out. And then Big Ben playing all right tonight, but again, another streamer. And then Russell Gage and Carlos Hyde. So again, I'll kind of narrow it down here for Trey Lance, Taylor Heineke, Deontay Foreman, Big Ben, Russell Gage, and Carlos Hyde.
I was ready to say Trey Lance for most of that list. I do think I think he'll get back on the field. Like this team is like you said, they don't stand much of a chance to win this division as it stands right now. So they might as well put him out there. I think Shanahan is starting to feel a little bit of heat underneath him and his job. So I think they're gonna make a move in the not too distant future once he's healthy. And he's got the running upside. Can he throw the ball? I don't know, but you don't have to throw well to score well in fantasy. Just ask Jalen Hurts. But I think my pick on that list has to end up being Russell Gage. And I realize he goosed everybody last week when Calvin Ridley was out and everybody was so excited that it was finally Russell Gage time. But if you ignore last week, which is hard to do, couple of 7-target games, right? Like he is getting the volume. I feel like the goose was an outlier that we don't have to worry about. I would rather pick up a Russell Gage on this list. We're pretty far down the list. So you're picking this guy up, putting him on your bench. Give me another week of decent target numbers, and then I'll feel pretty confident putting him in my lineup in a plus matchup as that second flex maybe.
Who would you rather have? Olamide Zaccheaus or Russell Gage?
Well, the one has a fun name.
Your boy Zaccheaus, 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
A lot of people had him in fantasy lineups, I'm sure.
It's going to look at
there it
Bears
is.
Score a touchdown? Was it a carry? I think that was a rush.
Yep.
Darnell Mooney?
No, they sure as hell can't throw the ball to their wide receivers, so why not give Darnell Mooney a handoff?
Right.
Love that in fantasy, right? Yeah,
Beautiful.
So, all right, Joe, I'm going to blaze through this name really quick as Dweeze catches up on his Bears highlights.
Yeah.
All right, in a very particular order, but no particular order in positions. Here are my top waiver pickups, about 25 of them for you, and then we will get to your comments in the streaming section. Bateman, 1. Ayuk, Logan Thomas, Elijah Moore, Van Jefferson, Conklin, Gallup, Ty Johnson, Dan Arnold, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jordan Howard, if you must, but I'm a Kenny Gainwell guy. Broncos defense, Stevenson, assuming he's healthy off the concussion. Eno Benjamin, 3rd-string running back for the Cardinals. Teddy Bridgewater in Superflex. Laviska Shenault, Tim Patrick, Mac Jones. Brandon McManus, if you need a kicker, Tennessee Titans DST. My boy Trey Lance, a couple more kickers for you here. Ryan Succop from the Buccaneers, high-scoring offense on a bye week. And then Greg Joseph for the Minnesota Vikings. Taylor Heineke, Deontay Foreman, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Gage, and Carlos Hyde with James Robinson Limited. All right, Dweeze, those are the Week 10 waiver ads. We, of course, had your top waiver picks and some trade talk. We do have a trade ask question here in the questions I want to get to here. Anbu Luffy, shouts out to Anbu coming in on YouTube here. I am trading away Christian McCaffrey for Aaron Jones and DJ Moore. Dweeze, is that fair?
Yeah, it's hard to watch Aaron Jones give up work to A.J. Dillon. For whatever reason, this team really wants A.J. Dillon to be something, and they just don't seem to want Aaron Jones to be who Aaron Jones can be. So it's tough for me. I'm going to say, not knowing anything else happening on your team, I'm going to say that it's pretty fair. I know DJ Moore has had some down weeks here recently, and the Carolina Panthers in general. Sam Darnold does not look very good. But I believe in the talent in DJ Moore, that he's going to be a wide receiver 2 more often than not. I think Aaron Jones, last couple of weeks, is a bit of a hiccup as A.J. Dillon has been getting it going. But Aaron Jones is still a stud. I think yes, only because I've been burned enough times by CMC that I'm just so wary of him at this point. Like, I just don't know that he's going to stay healthy for long. And even if he does stay healthy for long, that team's bad. I just said it with the DJ Moore talk. It's probably fair. It feels kind of bad to do because it's CMC, but it's probably fair. Not knowing what's going on this guy's team.
I was going to say, the question is it fair? I'm not sure it's fair for the other guy.
Oh, okay.
I kind of like Aaron Jones and DJ Moore. If this is a full PPR league, it's easy for me, Aaron Jones and DJ Moore. I know it's Christian McCaffrey. I mentioned on the Sunday Live show, I had 5 shares of Christian McCaffrey coming into last season on Dynasty Leagues, and I drafted him. I got rid of him in all Dynasty Leagues last year when he got hurt. I regretted it all preseason, and then he got hurt again. And then I realized, oh yeah, he's amazing, but he's a running back. Jamal Charles was amazing, but he's a running back. Dalvin Cook, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just like, yes, you can't replace Christian McCaffrey, and I'm not saying you just get rid of Christian McCaffrey, but if you're going to trade him for another top 5 first-round running back talent, Aaron Jones. And Dweeze, to your point really quick, because I know yesterday was frustrating, but Aaron Rodgers is out.
Yep.
Aaron Jones needs to stay healthy because the Packers, once again, probably will make a deep playoff run. A.J. Dillon was a rookie last year, so they kind of got him working. Now he can handle actual workload. So I think they're just getting him ready to go for winter time because he's going to be like that 80% Derrick Henry come cold games at Lambeau. So get him moving. I like that. But Aaron Jones long-term, I like that a lot. And DJ Moore is going to get you, his usual 8-9 targets a game. And I like that. He doesn't score a lot. We know that, but I do like it with the Christian McCaffrey hiccup this year. So yes, I think it's fair. And looks like Dweeze and I would do this.
Yeah.
All right. I want to give a shout out to our friend Beach in here almost every single live show. Beach, always good to have you on, bud. Thanks so much coming in from Twitch. And then dice him up. Thoughts on AJ Brown? So pretty much was completely non-existent for the first couple of games. He was hurt. He was out for 3 weeks. Came back. Didn't do anything for that first half. Like 9 catches the second half, really hit his spark. Boom. He's been on fire. Julio Jones was back in this game. Derrick Henry out, obviously. AJ Brown has been an absolute monster. Thoughts on AJ Brown? Can he stay healthy?
Yeah, so I've been an AJ Brown owner for some years now, and it is a frustrating thing because he has these 2 or 3 game runs where he doesn't do anything, and he did this last year as well. But like over the last half of the entire season last year, he was what, like the wide receiver 3. Like he was very good, and he's already shown his explosiveness a little bit in the last 3 weeks. 130-yard game, 150-yard game, touchdowns. We got 11 targets, 9 targets, 9 targets in the last few games. Yes, Julio was back, but he matched his season high in targets anyway. Did AJ Brown? This past week, only 42 yards on 5 catches there. He does drop the ball sometimes, which is also frustrating. But AJ Brown is the guy that you want on your team, right above Hunter Renfro. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Put AJ Brown out there because he's going to have huge 30-point weeks. He's also going to have 5-point weeks, and that's where Hunter Renfro's 13 is going to help level you off and help you win the games anyway. I love AJ Brown. If your roster is constructed to hold a guy like AJ Brown, I started this season in my home league with Mike Evans and AJ Brown as my 1 and 2 receivers. And while that sounds really good, those are big names. They're both boom or somewhat bust players. And it wasn't working out for me because they'd bust at the same time, and that's not you don't want that. So I traded away AJ Brown to get some pieces that I thought would be a little more consistent. It's worked out pretty well for me. You need the big play guy, but you also need the high floor dude, somebody like a Renfro who you might be able to go pick up there, dice them up. So go check it out, and then you can pair together a really nice solid squad. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. AJ Brown is absolutely the truth. I totally agree there. So appreciate it. All right, Joe, we are breaking down the week 10 already, Dweeze. I feel like boom, we wait all summer, then it's draft season, everyone gets hyped for a month, and then it's like, oh shit, it's kickoff and we're all hyped, and now it's like, dude, we're halfway through this whole thing. It's crazy.
Too much
crazy. All right, we went through the week 10 waiver wire pickups. Of course, Dweeze's top waiver ads and trade targets. Of course, you can find Dweeze on Twitter at Dweeze Nuts, all Z's, no S's. You can find me on Twitter at Sky Guasco. Of course, please follow, subscribe to the Fantasy Focused Network anywhere you find us on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. And also find the podcast, the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, anywhere the Believe podcast networks are heard. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Twitch, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're available. Go find us there in case you miss a live show. Or we're going to let Dweezy finish out the rest of this game. The Bears are at least within striking distance. Let's see if they can make it happen here on Monday Night Football. We'll see y'all again next episode here. I will be back tomorrow with the game recaps. This episode and all episodes of the TCK Pod have been brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network and Bet Online AG. Go there for all of your online sports betting experts. We'll catch you next time. This is episode 496 in the book. We'll catch you next time, y'all. For Dweeze Nuts, I am Sky Guasco. We are out of here.